Good news, Kim. We are finally out of the forest in terms of data transfers between EU and US, according to, at least according to some very optimistic people in press and media and various social media events, which I saw the other week. You might have heard, you might have seen that Joe Biden and Ursula von der Leyen shook hand and took a very nice picture and said that we are in total agreement that we need to start to prioritize and really look into the ability for the US and Europe to transfer data in between our two continents. Super duper awesome. That's great. It was a really nice picture as well. I was really impressed. They look well. They both look well on that one. However, let's not jump to any conclusions here that now it's finally over, because that's exactly the same, the quote I saw. It's finally over. We can finally take our head out of the ground and stop acting like ostriches, and completely just go right ahead and use every American hyperscaler cloud solutions that we want tomorrow. Let's not.
They actually said within a few weeks.
Yeah, I actually saw that one said tomorrow, but fair enough. There were different comments, but let's just say that no, regardless if it's tomorrow, a couple of weeks, or a few months from now, it's still not going to be a viable option. And the reason is simple. It's great that Joe Biden and Ursula von der Leyen is in a mutual agreement that this is important because we need to fix this. But then we will have to start a process in order to make a new decision to change the current situation. Here's the kicker. That's going to take a little while. Wild estimate, 5 years, maybe? Something like that, along those lines, depending on how cooperative we are on both sides.
The main issue here is that United States need to look at their legal practices and how they do resolve this intelligence gathering stuff. And that's not simple act you do. Of course, the president has the powers called executive orders, and he can change one executive order from one president to another.
Yep.
The issue with that one is, of course, what happens when Biden loses his president election in 2024 and we have Trump instead.
Yeah.
One executive order can shift between presidents. Even the same president can from one day to another change executive orders.
Yes.
So they're not very binding, long-lasting binding.
No.
Then we have, of course, Congress that can make a law. But that's a much longer process as well. And that's actually nothing Biden can promise, actually.
No.
Because Congress has to get it through Congress as well. So it's nice that they have agreed that this needs to be resolved and they need to look into stuff. But it's a big process both on the United States, that are the first ones to need to change the things that made the EU court upset in the first game. Because believe me, they don't want to do a third failure in the court, EU court.
No, and they already said it flat out. They're not going to do a new privacy shield. That's not going to fly. So no.
Unless something actually changed on the US side in their legal practice now, they're not going to make a new attempt, because that would be flat out rejected by the court again.
Yeah, it's just going to fail.
So that's just bound for failure. So now they need to do something new. So first off, United States has to change on their end.
Yep.
And this is a big negotiation. The second part is the EU has to agree on this on their parts. So all countries has to ratify this. And that's a big process in itself. Secondly, EU will for sure not make the same mistake twice, and they will consult and ask the EDPB authority. So the privacy authorities in all nations will weigh in on their part as well, if they actually believe this is good enough to satisfy the law. Because, if you do too little and too weak attempts, you're really bound to be struck down by the courts yet again. And they want to try to avoid that. So there's plenty of negotiations left to do. There's plenty of things to do from the political turning wheels on each side. And these are not wheels that turn quickly.
No.
These are windmills that are actually rolling around. So don't expect anything to be done in the next coming month. No.
And I would
people say, in a few months.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Define a few months, please.
And I say about 60 or so.
Exactly.
Yeah, no. So this is still something that needs to be. So there is plenty of room to do. That said, of course, when Privacy Shield fell, they finally realized this is not a technical question; it's a political one.
Yes.
It's solely a political one, and they need to be resolved politically as well. And they have not been just doing nothing, sitting around waiting for something to happen. No, of course, it's been a political activity.
Of course.
To work out how can we actually resolve this. But going from having a good political ambition and start talking to actually getting it written into law and getting something from that one, it's a bit of a long process. You have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, it's a very different proposition. So again, it's awesome that they're thinking about it, and both countries and continents are extremely eager to get this done, because everyone realizes we can't continue to have it like this. EU and Europe needs to be able to transfer data in a proper manner, but it comes down to law, and it comes down to the agreement between EU and the US. And that's going to take a while. And to Kim's point, it really doesn't matter what Joe Biden does now. What happens in 2 years if he loses his presidency? We can go back to square one again. So this whole notion that this will be a quick fix, I'm sad to say it's not going to be a quick fix, and it's going to take a while. But I am optimistic, at least now, that they are talking and they have trying to get together a plan for how to get this solved. But at the same time, they've been trying to do that since Privacy Shield fell, just to have that said. This is not something that we just gave up and didn't care about. Of course we cared about it. EU and US have cared about it. But again, something needs to give here. Either the US law or the EU's eagerness to disagree with the US law. And here's where we're stuck. And again, then we have 25 members these days in the UK left, right? And it's a bit in flux right now how many members of the EU we have with the whole Ukraine situation and all the countries that are regarding that. But 25 countries literally need to agree within EU that this is something that we agree to as well. So it's not just Ursula von der Leyen who can say, well, this is the way I want it, so let's do it. That's not going to fly either, right? So it's a give or take on both sides. But just to have that said, I think it's great that they're talking about it, but it's not going to be a quick fix. So no, just because they shook hands and took a very nice picture, we're not out of the woods just yet. And that's where we are with that.